My dad brought home 2 army blankets from the shop. I can't remember if this was exactly when, before the war or anything like that. I mean, I think as a child, we knew there was something happening, but not very sure about it, Anyway, we'd heard folk talking about sirens. We didn't know what a siren was. Anyway, we'd gone to bed at night. We normally went to bed before 9 o'clock at night. And this would be probably in September or August or something like that. Sound asleep. And Mum came through to the room. I don't know at what time, but it was night, definitely night, and a beautiful full moon. Brilliant moon. I mind to take note of that. And Mum says, now, we're going out to a shelter. Now, the shelter had only been completed. I'm not aware of anything in it that we could sit on or rest on or anything like that. I don't think we even had steps to get down into it. But Mum got us all ready, wrapped us up in these army blankets. And I thought, well, that's funny, these brown army blankets. I'd never really seen them other than when Dad had brought them home. And really, I hadn't seen my dad with them. I just knew my dad had brought them home, for that was the hours he worked in the chip shop. He was away from early morning, and he arrived back long after we were in bed at night. So, Mum put all the lights off, opened the back door, and says, right, you're going up to the shelter. And it was freezing cold outside. Plus the fact, the excitement, she says, and there's an air raid on, and the sirens have gone, and I think I could still hear the wail of them. And I'm walking up the garden. I don't even mind how I got up the garden, or whether we walked over where the ground would normally have been dug, or followed a path around to a shelter. I just don't know. We were so excited and shivering like mad, and the effect of being roused out of bed, still sleeping, he's half sleeping, and I'm looking up at the sky, and the moon, it lit the whole sky. In fact, you felt it was almost daylight, and yet you knew you had to pick your way through the ground up to the shelter, and cold metal shelter. We got in. It had all been covered up with earth, but some bits out the front didn't have the earth up, so found our way in. I don't mind how we got in. I think Mum must have gone in first and lifted us in one at a time. Now, as I say, we'd nowhere to sit. All we could do is stand, and we're standing on bare earth. Mum said, what is that? What is that? And we could hear what we thought was boom, boom, so like that. I don't recall ever seeing searchlights that night. It just was so unreal. I've never been up as late as that, as far as I could remember. And every so often we would look out, and Mum would say, oh, come away for that door, come away for that opening. Something might hit you. And I can only think our idea of a bomb was a round thing with a wee tube sticking out it, and a bit of string lit and sparkling. That's what we thought a bomb was like. Anyway, whatever it is, the raid went on. There was an electric spark about the place. One minute you were cold because you were in this steel shell. The next, you were tired having to stand up. And if you leaned against the walls, it was cold steel corrugations. I don't know, it was dark, we had no light, hadn't taken a torch with us. In fact, I don't think we'd even got to a stage of thinking of what we needed to go out to shelter. We got in there, and I suppose it was a good thing it happened, because it eventually gave us an idea of what we needed in that shelter for future use. And of course, we kept on waiting and waiting. I think I finished up with my mum cuddling us both, and I don't know, I can't recall if my mother was even trying to sit down or cool down or anything like that, but my poor mother just must have been in a terrible state, freezing cold, and most concerned about us, and the fact she would feel us shivering through our army blankets. I very often thought since, I wonder if a soldier ever felt warm in one of them, for they certainly didn't provide the amount of heat that we seemed to need in that shelter. I don't recall a wind or anything like that, just the brightness when you looked out the hatch, and the light shining onto our house. We could see the moon illuminated in the windows. Kept on thinking, what will we do if we drop a bomb? And of course there was also prospect that they might gas us. And we'd also heard that people got shot as they were trying to get away from the Germans with the airplanes coming over. And I think in the cinemas seen dive bombers coming down at high speed and dropping bombs onto a packed roadway with people trying to get away. This was all in France and Poland and such like. I don't think we were even at war at that time. I just don't know. Anyway, we must have fallen asleep. And then eventually, as it was getting light, we heard this funny noise. It was the siren indicating the all clear. Now it wasn't a steady wheel, it was on and off, on and off, oh. That's a bad impression of it, I'm positive. But that was it. That was the end of the raid. Mum got us out of the shelter. We were still looking at the sky in case there was anything up there. I remembered looking at it on the way into the shelter. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? And I expected the sky to be black with aeroplanes. No idea what I was looking for, because the only aeroplanes we ever saw flying over the garden were twin-winged biplanes, as they would call them, and they flew over quite regularly, about once a week, and an odd Zeppelin floating over us. What we didn't know, and I only learned that way back in the late 70s, that the Germans had been photographing all the places. They had a patchwork of everything that existed in the area. Sir William Arnold's factory, Bearmore's, docks at the Clyde, just everything, Clyde Ironworks, airports that we didn't even know existed even after the war was over. We did them. Images of planes lying out at sea, seaplanes. So many things. Now, it didn't dawn on me until the 70s when I saw that, and I purchased a book of pictures taken by the German Luftwaffe, or maybe even a private aircraft flying over, of installations that may well have been the potential for bombing. Excuse me. It was funny to look back on that and realise that how vulnerable we had looked, because air below them was the exposures of all the secrets we had, and there weren't many. They were all very, very exposed and available for use for examination for anybody who would want to attack from the air. Anyway, Mum got us out of shelter. We were still shaking and shivering, we were freezing. I don't know if it was fear or cold. I think it was a mixture of both. It's not a feeling I've felt very often ever since, but it was really an experience that, well, I'm now 88, and when you think back on that, that's a long time to remember how uncomfortable, how cold, how frightened you were. We got into the house. There was no central heating in these days, but the house seemed tremendously comfortable. I think Mum made us a cup of cocoa or something, and we got back to bed. But I still think I was cold in bed even then. But that was my first experience of an air raid, and going into the shelter, to shelter for the very first time in the Second World War. It's an experience I don't think many people should ever be subjected to, but it's still in my memory very clearly. My brother's dead now. He died a long time ago, but I'm quite sure William would have been able to recount from a much 5 year younger than me age of what he experienced. My poor mother's dead. I can't help thinking, in fact, the way she looked after us that night, and the total discomfort of that and the fear of that. That's the end of my story. I didn't enjoy telling it, for it raised a lot of fear and alarm in me still. I hope you, in fact, found it interesting. Thank you. Bye. Robin!